Hey, welcome back to the Scope Creepers podcast. My name is Aramis, and my room feels like a blank void at this exact moment. For those listening online, it's emptying out. I am moving today. It's probably the last time I'll be recording an intro to a podcast in this house, and it's very strange. It's odd when you there's this thing that I've thought in life where like the end of like a lease at an apartment or your dorm room in college or your childhood bedroom, there's these moments where it's your last time in those things and you'll never get to smell what they smell like again. I don't know why smell is something that pops in my head. Maybe because that's where like so many memories come from for me. Like you smell something, you're like, it kind of just takes you back. So last couple days in this house, and I'll be in an apartment. So next time you see this background will be different. My new apartment's awesome. I'm really excited to be done moving because I'm in the middle of it, and it is it's stressful but also peaceful. You know, one of those things when you're like moving, you have less agency in life for a while, because what are you going to do with your free time? Oh, I'm going to be packing or moving stuff to the new place. There's not really that decision making of what game do I play? Do I watch a movie? Do I hang out with a friend? Do I do X, Y, and Z? Like, I'm moving right now. And there's some piece to that in a very strange way. Today's episode is with Queble. I realized right in that exact moment, this is the first time I've said his name out loud. I think I've been calling him Queble, but that seems wrong. It's like Queble. But a great content creator over on YouTube here, making stuff about Godot, some really great updates, and recently talking a little bit more about his game in his most recent episode. So there'll be a link up above and below down in the comments if you want to go and go follow his content. You'll learn something new. I almost guarantee it. This is a fun conversation. We kind of just talk about game development, and the conversation flows really nicely. Queble and I first met at a International Game Developer Association meetup here in Minnesota. He had reached out and said, hey, do you want to go to this together? And we did. And it's going to be something that I start going to on a regular basis because it's nice to meet other developers in person. We're all socially awkward. We all don't really know how to engage in those sort of situations. And then when you do, you're just talking about game development or D&D or your favorite game or board games or whatever, because we all, turns out, have game development in common. And that means we all kind of enjoy some of the same things. So this conversation is a little bit of that, a little bit of talking about game design, game development, and I don't know. I think it was a lovely conversation. I certainly enjoyed having him on the podcast, and I hope you enjoy our conversation with Queble. My conversation with Queble. So where I wanted to start is that I'm curious to know, how did you get into game development? And like, if we're looking at it from like a hero's journey perspective, what was the like inciting incident that maybe got you to actually start making games?
Yeah, so getting like, as far as the interest in game development, that was probably when I was like really young. I have notebooks from when I was like 5 years old for like games I wanted to make. So I feel like the interest was always there, but
Yeah.
when I was like 10 or 11, I got into Scratch, and I don't know if you use Scratch, but
I've seen
it's like,
good guys make games in Scratch. Yeah.
okay, it's like super basic, like really good to learn how to code, but that was kind of like how I got into game dev, and I made a bunch of like really crazy games in there that I'm not super proud of, but it was like a really good starting point. And from there, I kind of just like used a few different engines. So I did like the whole RPG Maker thing. Made a few games in there, and then Unity for a bit, Unreal, even like CryEngine, and a couple others. But just kind of like a lot of hopping around and like watching tutorials and watching videos and like whatever you call it, devlogs.
Yeah.
I feel like that was like a lot of the inspiration, and I never really found myself like I never really made a game I was like super proud of. It was all a ton of prototypes.
Sure.
So when I got into Godot, which was almost 6 years ago, I started joining like game jams and stuff, and that was like really where like I felt like I was actually accomplishing stuff in game dev.
Sure.
Rather than just like kind of dabbling with the hobby. So I don't know, like starting game dev was kind of in Scratch, and then just snowballed from there. But I've always had like an interest in it, I guess.
So I grew up playing games as well. I remember playing Nintendo 64, sitting really close to the computer or the screen, and my mom finally realizing, oh, maybe he has vision problems. He's not just super tuned in. But I never had that like, oh, maybe I can make this. Where did that come from? Did somebody help foster that? Were you always just kind of curious and wanted like, where does that like, okay, I'm gonna go figure out how to do this myself? You know, where does that urge come from?
I feel like I was always just curious. I really like designing stuff, and I feel like used to play a lot of Lego Star Wars, and like on the Wii, and I would always want to design my own levels, and I feel like I would draw out levels that I'd want in the game. I
Did
feel
they
like
have a
that's
level
where
builder, or were you just
they
like
did not know.
kind of just
I
on
just
your
like
own designing
kind
stuff?
of imagination, yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
So kind of just like intrigued by how it worked, and then I would always like assume things about how games were made. So like my initial idea of like how games were made is when I learned about how like if statements worked.
Hmm.
I thought games were just like a ton of if else statements, which I guess some people code their games like that, but I thought it was just like a huge chain of like if you have this item and if you're in this position in the world and if you do this, then like draw this super specific like pre-rendered frame on the screen. And I thought everything was like pre-rendered frames. So I was like always just super blown away at like how people would do that. And then like as I started to learn, it was like I don't know, it just felt a lot more unnatural than I assumed initially. But
Yeah. So as you're growing up, you're making games in Scratch and stuff like that. Did that correlate at all to like academic learning and stuff like that? Were there things that you were drawn to from like a schooling perspective that like tied into game development? I'm thinking like art classes or if you had like programming classes or anything like that in high school or middle school. Like, was there any tie between those, like kind of maybe more of a hobby on the side versus like what you were doing? Full time's the wrong word, but for school.
yeah, not really. I was actually homeschooled, so
Cool.
coding was kind of like a class because we were like really encouraged to do like learning on our own.
Yeah.
So Scratch was like kind of a class, I guess, that
Oh, cool.
I was taking at home. It wasn't really, it was just a hobby, but like
Yeah.
I guess you could kind of say it that way.
That's cool. I feel like coding's a good way to like. So many people push against the math education, being like, "Oh, why am I learning to do trigonometry? Where I'm going to use abstract algebra?" And like, those kids are right. Like, I do game development, and I don't mess with like matrices all that often, right? Like,
Yeah.
But like, I feel like coding and stuff could be an alternative way to teach people logic. Like, you're logically checking assertions and if-else statements, and you're doing for loops, and you're thinking through all these things logically. How do I tell a computer to do what I want it to do? Do you think that helped? I guess, did you also have math education being homeschooled?
Yeah, I did. And I feel like the same way. Like I don't use most of the stuff I learned in game dev. Like everyone's like, game dev uses so much math, and honestly, I don't find it uses that much math at all. Like
No.
other than basic like addition, subtraction, multiplication, some algebra, some geometry. Like that's really all I use realistically.
Yeah.
I don't know. How about you?
Every now and again, there's like some way of I have to like find some sort of like formula for a parabolic like arc I want to do, or
Okay.
like a Bezier curve. But like that's where ChatGPT comes in these days, of being like, hey, help me like come up with how to do those things, and then I can like reverse engineer it. But yeah, the actual math I use is very little and very low. Even like using like performant algorithms, and like I remember in college learning like dynamic programming stuff, and like none of that stuff's come up because quite frankly my games are simple enough and the engines do so much of the heavy lifting for us that we can truly just focus on like making games that are fun. And that's been pretty nice.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's something I find interesting is like optimization, because I mean like every programmer is always striving for like perfect optimization.
Yeah.
But it's like basically every 2D game I've ever seen can run completely fine, even if it's horribly optimized. So at some point it's like maybe it's better to like, obviously if you're making a 2D game, to just like work in the direction of like making it easier to develop and like more organized. which sometimes comes with optimization, but like adding a ton of extra bloat
Hmm.
a lot of times isn't even worth it.
Is that
Which
something you're bringing into your game development practice?
it is kind of, yeah, because I find myself like thinking ahead on systems a lot and doing like so much planning
Yeah.
and just trying to find like the most optimal way to do something. And then I like take a step back and I'm like, I don't even know if I want this in the finished game.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like trying to
Mm-hmm.
fit this puzzle piece in perfectly. So I've been trying like past 6 months to a year, I guess, trying to like um, just develop something. I've seen like a ton of posts on it on Reddit lately. Just like make it and then like make it better later. Which I mean, I've known my whole life. I just never actually utilized that
Yeah.
piece of knowledge.
Yeah, it's fun to
But
see things that are like the quintessential isms of like game development and stuff. And like, I'm somebody who has to kind of like figure that out myself. Like, I can know these things intellectually, but I have to like go and like kind of like learn that lesson myself to be like,
yeah,
okay, this is why people say that thing. Now I get it a little bit more than like just hearing it in a Reddit post. You're like, oh, sure, whatever. But like, I'll be different. I can,
yeah,
and like, I feel like bashing my head against the wall is where I finally like let that lesson sink in a little bit.
yeah, yeah. Like joining game jams too. I was always like super like, oh, I didn't need a game jam. I could just make my dream game as the first thing I do, and then it's like you eventually join one, and you're like, I see why people tell you to join game jams, like to get all the ideas out and like figure out how to scope games correctly and
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
But
Do you have a dream game idea that you want to make? Is that something because you've been making games for so long in your life? Is that something you still have? Are there just kind of different ideas and concepts? Like where are you at with like the quote unquote dream game?
I feel like it's the one I'm working on right now. I wanted to make a 3D game, which was kind of like the same. I really like Monster Hunter, so I kind of wanted to copy that when I got into game dev and
Yeah.
make like a full blown AAA 3D Monster Hunter game.
What do you like
But
about
obviously
Monster
that's not.
Hunter?
What was that
What do
question?
you like about Monster Hunter?
Just the fact that it's like you have really unique monsters you can fight and
Hmm.
like really unique boss fights, and they have like so much personality. I feel like it just makes it like the combat. I always love combat in games,
Hmm.
and I feel like it just has really interesting combat. But that was like my dream game, and I've taken the scope back a lot.
Hmm.
Obviously, switched it to 2D,
Hmm.
and I kind of want to have that same feel, but I also want to mix it with like I want this game to be easy to just hop in and play, and I want it to be like easy to get going and have a lot more strategy in it. So I'm trying to mix it with like a roguelike, kind of like Risk of Rain, but something I want to keep is like that unique enemy behavior. So I've actually been using a lot of like behavior trees and stuff like that. But I feel like I'm kind of working on my dream game. Um, Obviously, I have a lot more ideas now, but how about you? Do you have a like a dream project or something?
Mm, maybe I don't. I it's like I've switched so much in the last couple months to like focusing on profitability of a company since I can't stop saying the word company. It's too serious. The profitability of like me as a solo developer, so that it's kind of like any of the ideas of like quote unquote dream games have kind of just like melted away.
Okay.
Um, I don't. Yeah, it's really like a lot of my brain space is like, what sort of game can I make that feels like I could make it in a amount of time that yields a profitable result as far as like an hourly wage or something like that.
Mhm.
And that sort of analysis kind of does like squash out a lot of ideas and like it's kind of just like completely removed any want or desire to go to 3D, which sounds like similar thing that you squashed away 3D down to 2D. And like because I haven't done 3D, there's just so much unknown there. And so as I'm looking
Yeah.
at amount of time to do a project, it's like, oh, yeah, 3D probably is not the place to go just because I don't have the experience doing something like
Yeah.
that.
Do you think that like if in the future like you get an insane amount of game sales that allow you to just like make whatever game you want for like 1 or 2 years, would
Yeah.
you do like a 3D game?
Uh, probably just because
Okay.
3D games I feel like sell or have a better time marketing themselves than a 2D game. Um, Because I think if I did something like that, where it was a 1 to 2 year project, because that is kind of the goal, would be to like step myself up back to the point of like doing 1 to 2 year projects full time. I would probably want to try to go into it from a perspective that's a little bit trying to like remove some of that risk from that amount of time by like upfronting like art concepts or something like that, so that I could get some validation of the path I'm going to go down before I like walk down that path.
Okay.
Yeah, it could absolutely be a 3D game though, but I've made a couple small projects, so there's just a lot of unknown in that space.
Yeah. I found that like I've done a couple 3D projects, and honestly, it's like so similar to 2D.
Yeah.
It's like, I know it's kind of shocking because like the last 3D work I did was in Unreal, and that's like, I feel like way just overly complex, which could just be me. But just Godot, like having the seamless like 2D to 3D kind of has the same workflow. It's just like so nice.
Yeah. What is so complex about Unreal?
It could have been just because I was like 13 or 14.
Sure.
I feel like just there were so many different areas, and this was on Unreal 4, I think. But I just found myself super confused with like the different terminology for things, and like they had a resource called like a sequence or something.
Okay.
And I think it was separate from an animation, and that like confused me because I was like, when do I use like an animation versus a sequence? And then just like working with 3D models, and then the coding structure, I was trying to use blueprints, which I had never used like a node-based system like that before.
Yeah.
So it was really confusing for me. So it could just be that I didn't know anything about game dev back then, but
it is one of those things that's kind of hard to like get into something and not know the words to Google. Like one of the hardest things of learning any piece of software or any type of like even like different categories of software is like, what are the tools in the typical toolbox that I'm looking for? You know, like for so long, there's like, I'm still finding stuff in Godot that I'm like, oh, cool. Godot has that built in as a, you know, some sort of like script you could use, or this node could be used for that thing. And like, I had no idea before, you know, and so it's like, that probably could have been part of the problem. Is just like, yeah, you don't know what's in the Unreal toolbox, and
like you don't know what you can do. So it's like, what direction do you take?
Yeah. That's really interesting. So
did you use?
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Did you use any game engines before Godot, or like which?
I think back in college there was a moment when I was learning programming for my I'm a computer science mathematics major. Double major. Okay. I don't know how to correct double major. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Computer science major, and I got into like Cocos 2D as like some sort of framework or something back then, and never actually made a game. And then fast forward to like 5 years ago when the pandemic started, or 4.5 years ago, 5 years ago. Oh my gosh. I had all this free time and started working on Unity, since Brackeys and a guy called Quill18 had a Quill18 Creates channel. He makes games in Unity and stuff like that. So that's where I started, and then made a couple small games in that. And then DevDuck switched from Unity to Godot and made a video about it. And I was like, oh, cool. I like DevDuck. Let me switch. And I haven't looked back at this point. So
nice.
Yeah.
What year did you switch?
It would have been 2020. I think I did the GMTK Game Jam was probably the last Unity game I made, and I think it's like August or September is when I switched to Godot of that year.
So that was around the time I switched. I think I was in 2019.
Yeah.
End of 2019. Yeah. But
cool.
I was using Game Maker before, which Game Makers I would not recommend. There was like this their layer system when I was using it just didn't work. So I was like trying to paint in a tile map, and there was this bug where I forgot exactly what happened, but it was something with the rendering. And I like looked up the bug, and they were like, yeah, it's on the like the bug fix list, but there's no like date in mind for when it's going to get fixed. So it could be like 2 or 3 years. And I was like, okay, I can't make my game until this is fixed. So it's not exactly ideal.
Sure. So then why did you switch to Godot? Because I think that's also something I'm really interested in learning about in general. Yeah. Just like, why do people gravitate toward Godot?
I just find it so like easy to understand. I initially just wanted to test it out, so downloaded it, and it was just so like straightforward. I feel like everything's so modular and just like obvious. That could be because I've used different game engines, but I feel like it just makes so much more sense than most engines. Like everything's consistent with like the node system.
Yeah. What was
And
the
you
hardest
said you
part about
switched to it
learning Godot for you, like switching over? I think for me is probably like I remember really struggling with the UI system, and then it
Okay.
finally just clicked one day, and now I can do it. I feel like a couple years ago I kind of just like clicked, and I'm like, okay, cool. Now I can like use it kind of flawlessly, not flawless, but like very organically.
Yeah. Maybe the code, because I think the only language I really knew before Godot was like Game Maker's language and then like some C sharp, but I kind of just learned the code from the ground up from like tutorials and stuff, and I feel like that took the
Yeah.
most time. But
Yeah.
even that, I feel like it was pretty easy compared
Yeah.
to like Game Maker.
One of the reasons I like GDScript is it is designed for Godot. Like
Yeah.
I've never used the C sharp implementation, but like GDScript just feels like it fits into the engine so well, and I don't like to make my process complex. I just even use the Godot editor, and everything's just
Yeah.
there and ready to go, and it kind of just works, and I appreciate that.
And that's something that kind of goes back to like the optimization thing. It's like, would you rather have like a super optimized language like the Rust integration for Godot or whatever,
Yeah.
or just use something that works really well with the engine and is more convenient? I found that I just like I'd rather use GDScript. I haven't really used any other languages, but like from what it sounds like, GDScript works the best with the engine. So,
Yeah.
and I'm sure it'll get a lot better and more efficient in the future. So,
And then like every release right now, I feel like especially with kind of maybe we're getting to the tail end of the 4.0 stuff or 4.x, but it feels like each release they're really kind of ramping up what you can do with it and like putting in some of the quality of life stuff that people have been asking for years at this point.
yeah, I'm actually shocked like how fast it's going because we've been getting like so many features for Godot. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I came in
it's
at the
pretty
end
cool.
of the 3.x. I think I was like 3.3 was probably like the first version I used of Godot. And so kind of like 4 and 5, 3.4 and 3.5 came a little bit later. But like I don't know how long they sit on kind of whatever they call it, like I don't know if 5 is in the works at this point, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, I see. Yeah. I haven't even thought about that. That's, yeah.
Somebody certainly has thought about it, and yeah, I'm the same way. I'm like, oh, cool, like new
Yeah.
version of Godot's out, awesome. Let's see what's in it and see if anything's quite worth it to like move stuff up. So
What's the like most exciting update for you in Godot like this year, I guess?
I don't think I have an answer.
Okay.
Like, cause like I thought I'd be like, oh yeah, typed dictionaries, but I don't use typed dictionaries. Like,
Really? Okay.
apparently
I use
no.
them
I
like
just
every day.
I kind of just go for it, and like I'm used to like I know my code, and I know how I code, so I can just like intuitively know how I did something, I suppose.
Okay.
And I'm used to like using dictionaries a lot. Like I already did that a lot. When I was a Salesforce developer. Like I used a lot of dictionaries with their language, so
Yeah.
it's something I'm very comfortable and confident in. And like almost all of my dictionaries have like an enum as the key, and then like the value is something else. So
Okay.
I should
about
probably
the,
use dictionaries, but
The
or,
game tab.
types.
What about the game tab? That's a pretty good feature.
The game tab.
Like have you been using that? That's so nice. Please tell me you use that.
Is that like the ability to like see the game without running it?
It's like the embed game thing, and then also allows you to just directly select nodes while it's running. Like click on them and select them.
That's really cool.
Yes.
I go to the remote tab, and I have to like go find where it is.
It's like the remote tab, but just faster.
Yeah, I bet if I could, because I have like sometimes I have like 200 asteroids on the screen. I'm not finding the asteroid I want to find. I just don't. I say, well, whatever.
Yeah. No, I'd I'd definitely check that out. It's pretty helpful.
I kind of just accepted that I sometimes it's like there's a certain level of stuff I just don't care about. Like I I'm so focused on kind of just like learning to make a good game and like functionally making something that plays and stuff like that that I just like I don't care. And I know that like there's things that would make my life better and I just don't find that interesting. I don't know. Isn't that weird?
Okay.
Like I don't really like because I did like the shader pre-baking and stuff like that seemed cool, and I checked that on my build, but I don't know if it helped or hurt. You know, like
Okay. I think that one like mainly optimized games for like Mac exports, but I think
cool
just overall it should,
help.
if that's the one I'm thinking of. But yeah, Game Tab is like I feel like everyone was excited for that, so that's kind of shocking to hear that you didn't use it, but
No,
it's pretty cool.
if I
Yeah.
had to make an answer, I would say, and this isn't about the last year, but the percent sign on nodes where you can like reference them with the little
Oh,
like
unique names.
unique names
Yeah.
like that, like before looking back at like 3.5 or like I think 3.4 didn't have it and they backported it to 3.5 even, but like in the last 5 years that has been the single change that has just made my game development so much easier because then I can be really flexible about where stuff is in the tree and like be like fiddling with my UIs and moving stuff around and just not breaking my code constantly. So
Yeah.
that's the one thing that
Uh,
I really have been like that quality of life is insane for me.
okay. Do you use export references for nodes ever?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Because I find a lot of people like don't use those, and I find it really interesting because I like only use export references, and I feel like I think they're actually more optimal than onReady, but I just wanted to ask that because if you didn't know about that, I would have definitely recommended it too.
No, yeah, I like exports
Okay.
and stuff like that for sure. They're helpful. I don't. I'm trying to think of a situation where I use one versus the other, and there definitely are situations. I probably
Hmm.
prefer the unique names more often than an
Okay.
export reference. Yeah, I don't know. What? How about you? Best change in the last year, or
Yeah, probably the game tab,
yeah,
but yeah. So for your because your current game, you said you wanted to release it in a couple months, or what was the time frame for that?
November, mid-November. We're like 44 days away.
What's your do you have like a project planned after that, or
I'm having a meeting to talk about that after this.
okay? Nice.
It's likely going to be the main idea is to take what we learned because I'm partnering with Thornity on this project. So take what we learned about making a game about feeding a black hole, like the tech tree, the pacing, working together, all those different things, and like do that for game 4, but like more efficiently maybe and faster. I wouldn't necessarily say better, but just doing it again but more efficiently. And in the vein of trying to do something with less unknowns, I made a mining and crafting prototype about, well, at this point, it's like a year ago or a year and a half ago. It was like the first project I did when I first started going full time this go around. And that idea was there's like a really fun version of the prototype that I then added combat to because I wanted there to be combat in the game. And then combat made it really hard for me to keep working on. I got analysis paralysis because I was trying to do like some ARPG inspired stuff in there and it got to be just too much. And so then I quit that project basically or shelved it to like try to work on a different project because I was like feeling stuck on that one. I think there's an incremental game idea in my mining game and focusing in on that is probably where we're going to go.
Okay.
And then like take like the tech tree and kind of the learnings from a game about feeding a black hole and make some sort of like incremental mining game would probably be what the next game will end up being is what we're thinking. So
Okay, cool.
yeah.
I heard you in one of your videos talking a lot about like the tech or skill tree or whatever in the black hole game.
Yeah.
How much do you like plan that out? Like how in depth do you go to like plan out exactly what you think the player is going to choose? Or is it kind of just like winging it and then seeing like what players choose, or do you have like a really like structured system, I guess, for like kind of planning out the order you think that they're going to get upgrades.
It is a lot less structured than you'd probably think.
Okay.
It is a little bit more kind of trying stuff out and seeing how it works. One of the big things we're doing is we have the tree kind of like branches out a little bit, but then it comes back down to points so that we can balance the costs of the next kind of part that branches out a little bit, knowing that you have that first set in there. So the whole backbone of the idea is making sure that the pacing just feels good. And so it's just playtesting it to see what feels good, to see how long it takes, and to make sure that we're introducing novelty at the right moments where like you might be getting bored. Okay, let's add novelty. Okay, where it feels like it's not quite soon enough, so then we just like reduce some of the costs so that you get to that point sooner. So a lot of that is just like us playtesting it, us having our friends playtest it, going to the IGDA. There's one more letter in there. The International Game Developer Association. Yeah, okay.
IGDA.
Yeah, I did say it. There we go. Going to that and like having people play test it there, like I was timing people the whole time to see how long it took them to get through branches, because we have a general idea of what we want to do with each branch. Like the first branch is like introduce the core mechanic. The second branch is like introduce how you win the game by growing the black hole and reward the player for growing it. And branch 3 is like introduce these effects that feel novel and fun. So a lot of it is just kind of messing around with it and making sure that that novelty is still there. And so finishing the rest of that tree is going to be more of the same stuff of trying to like add novelty, add interesting things, and then just kind of get the playtime up to like an hour and a half or 2 hours so that they'll finish it and kind of like accelerate to that ending and feel good about the time that they spend.
Okay. And that's another question I had is like, you said the different branches in order. Is it like kind of locked down? Like you have to do them in a specific order, or can you go in any order?
Technically you could go in any order. There's not like actual locks in place, but you would, the cost and pacing of it kind of pushes you to do a certain thing. Okay. So it's like just kind of understanding player behavior. If you go to the upgrade tree, which we've tried to do to make sure that you always have at least 1 to 3 upgrades you can purchase. So the whole time, like if you watch people play it, they're constantly going back and forth. Very rarely are people staying and like redoing a session to like save up money. We've kind of paced it so that you get addicted to going to the tree. You know the tree has power, so you go there, you buy your thing, you come back in, and like you really don't have to read any of the nodes because of the cost of it, because we kind of just want you to be in this nice tight flow state of like slowly feeling more and more powerful.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely felt that when I played the game, because it was like I wanted to just keep playing and like save up money so that I could just like max out the tree, but then I was like, I was earning so much more money every time I got an upgrade, so I was like, I kind of want to go back to the tree and like see what I can do quick. And then it was really good back and forth, which I
it's
liked.
Surprisingly how it does kind of just like we there was a version of the tree that was more scarce and more expensive, and so you'd go there and you'd have to like sit there and think about what you wanted to do, and that could be a fun way to play it. And we do want to add in like more of a scarcity mode where you do have to kind of like puzzle out what's the best upgrade right now. But this is like, I want this to just be like a dopamine game where you just get to hang out and have fun and you don't have to think about it as far as this branch of the tree goes. So there are no like hard locks in place. It's simply just like, oh, you're not going to save up $1 million right now because you're only making $300 a run. That would take you 1,000 runs to be able to afford the next upgrade. So it's like functionally you then see, okay, well, this one only costs 500, so let me go get that upgrade. And then you just start working down the tree. And then the next one's like, okay, this one's 10,000 now. And I start working down the tree. And now that once I finish branch 3, I can now afford that $1 million upgrade. So it's like artificial gates, I would say, but functionally they are kind of locked from the player.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's something Thornady taught me, the whole, like how to use that as a way to balance the game, to have good pacing.
Okay. Yeah. That's a cool way to do it. It makes me like think of just think a lot more about like how I could implement that in my game. Yeah. But just like having that artificial lock, essentially, like you're not exactly restricting the player and making it super linear, but you're still kind of like guiding them a lot more.
Yeah, it's something that you could even see like Slay the Spire doing it in a way of like having things in the shop that cost like 400 gold. Now that's a rotating shop, which kind of isn't what I'm going for like in my head, but I'm like, if you see that, you as a player know, okay, if I can get myself up to 400 gold, I can get the really powerful thing. You know, it like at that exact moment, you probably can't afford it, but it shows you as a player with Slay the Spire why you might want to save up money now and not buy that because there's some things in this game that are really powerful but really expensive.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's interesting.
What sort of like currency system or upgrade system do you have in your game that you're thinking about?
Well, I right now I just have like basic. You kill an enemy, you get a reward for that,
Yeah.
and then you use that to buy chests or whatever. But I do want to have more that you can do with your money. So like maybe specific, I don't know, like event stages with a merchant on it or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, how I'm scaling it is, and I don't know if this is going to backfire, but I have like the stats system. So the amount of currency an entity drops is a stat.
Okay.
And then I have stat curves. So based on their XP, it'll like calculate their level and then sync that to a curve and just multiply the value.
Yeah.
But what I've done is basically like sync the amount of money you earn to a curve that's super similar to the amount that a chest costs, which is like another stat, which is like the entity
Ooh,
cost.
okay.
So technically, the money and the cost, like the money you're earning and the cost of chests, kind of goes up at almost the same rate.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of doing that to keep it balanced for now. And
Yeah.
yeah, again, I don't know if it's gonna backfire or be like super boring because you're kind of earning the same amount. But I want to figure out a system that I can like make that aspect of the game a bit more interesting because at some point you're just going to be like able to buy everything on the stage, and I don't know if I like that or not. I don't know. I got to think about the currency more, but because like you're kind of using it to just buy upgrades, but upgrades kind of all have the same cost or around the same cost
Yeah.
because it's like a random roll.
Yeah. Would
So
you
I'm
be able to
wondering
buy
if I
two
could like
upgrades at
do
once if you had enough money?
that might be an option.
If you like
or
buy
like
one,
have
do they all go away?
no, they're all on the
Okay.
on the map. So
Okay.
yeah, you could buy technically all of them. But if I had chests that were that sort of a system, or even like also implement some sort of a skill tree, um, where like you couldn't maybe buy all the upgrades on it. It was like you had to choose one out of like three skills for every
Yeah.
upgrade that you do, or
Yeah.
something like that. I don't know. I'll have to play around with it, but
Yeah, I think the concepts we're working on in a game about feeding a black hole's tree are hard to like translate into a roguelike
hmm.
because at the core of the idea is like we can balance the game around the fact that you're gonna probably have all of those upgrades then. And like I've watched people who don't actually buy all of them and then eventually they go back and buy all of them. And so like we get to balance the game around the fact that we know you have all these things. Where with a roguelike, by the nature of them, you can't really do that same sort of balancing,
Yeah.
right?
And I feel like a lot of the balancing is going to have to happen like as people play it
Yeah.
and like report like insanely broken builds.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'll have to kind of go back. But I was actually thinking about so like I made this card game a couple years ago, and it was kind of like a deck builder, and I basically made like an application that would track which cards were played and like all the turns and stuff, and then it would give you a report of like what were the most powerful hands in that
Oh,
game
cool.
and kind of like the average power, and then you could balance like the outstanding cards
Mm-hmm.
kind of to that. And I'm thinking about like I don't know if it will be essential, but implementing some sort of a program that I can just like use to balance my game. So it would just kind of track the runs and like how long a run would take, how much damage you deal, what items you have, and then figure out like what was the most contributing item to that run.
Yeah.
And then I could like easily pick out like if this run was like super OP, I could figure out the reason, and then if I want to like keep that behavior or not. I think it would be helpful, but it might take a ton of extra work for
Yeah.
like just balancing the game, which can obviously be done without it.
Even from a, but I one of the things I like about that idea is you can also surface that information to the player if you're tracking
Yeah.
it to say like this relic, I don't know if you have relics, or this item has done plus 30 damage over the course of this game. Like you can then as a player like get not only your experience with that build, but you can also look at those numbers and see, oh, I took that thing earlier and actually I thought it would heal me more and it's only healed me for 5. Okay. Oh, as I read it again, yeah, I didn't really utilize it because I have to do X, Y, and Z to be able to heal more from that. Like you can like show some information from the player in multiple different perspectives, which can be helpful to like
Yeah.
sink in how the mechanics of the game work and like give them that information if you're tracking it. And like you said, it could help you balance it, which would be really helpful.
Yeah. Do you find yourself like wanting more of an analytics system in a game? Like you want to know all the stats of an item and kind of like exactly how it works, or more of just like you pick up an item, it gives you a brief description, and then you kind of just like figure it out?
I like the more information.
Okay.
Like thinking of I mean all of the all the games I really like are really crunchy. Like Path of Exile is a very crunchy game, PoE2 crunchy. Like I've recently got back into Magic, which is incredibly like so many, so much words to read on a card.
Yeah.
But even like Slay the Spire is simple, but then there's a mod I add that does literally do that tracking you're talking about, which tracks like how much has the different relics and things you have on your run, how it like tracks how much that has helped you. And I think that's like a small thing. It's not necessarily needed, but it's like a nice little thing to have to say, okay, cool, this relic, oh my gosh, this relic has given me 500 shield throughout the run is really like a fun little thing to see, I suppose.
That's interesting that you say that, because like my brother doesn't like that in games. He likes it to be like if he sees all the stats, he said he like hates that.
Yeah, some people get
But,
really overwhelmed by that, and it's like too much. Like, oh no.
Yeah. So I'm like trying to figure out a balance, like how much I actually show to the player. But then when you mentioned that, I was like, he has a mod for Risk of Rain that like shows him all the math and how it stacks. So I'm like,
Yeah.
maybe that's just I don't know. Maybe, I mean, I'm sure there are people that obviously dislike the analytical side of things, but I feel like as you learn the game more, maybe you do want to see that. So
To be
it
able
would be
to like
something
min-max
interesting
maybe.
to, yeah, I guess. I don't know. Maybe if it was like a setting, just like kind of a mod that's
Yeah.
built into the game,
Like
you
show
turn
more
on.
information type of
Yeah.
a setting.
I wonder if that would be beneficial.
I think it's a feature that's probably not worth adding.
Yeah.
It's an idea that's cool, and you could put it on a list that says maybe do in the future. I have that list, and I'll be honest, I never do things from that list. It's the noble lie that I'm like, oh, I'll get to this someday, and like someday never usually comes for some of those ideas, and that's like an okay thing to do, because it's like I see an idea like that, and I think that's cool, and I like that, and like, would that alone make the game fun for somebody?
Maybe like 1 in every 1,000 people.
That's a pretty small number.
And it would take your entire week to implement. Yeah.
Oh yeah, let's say you have 10,000 people play the game. That's 10 people.
Yeah.
And I'm all
No,
for the
that's-
little things that you can do to like add up, but like that ratio of then like, and you said, and it probably takes a week.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, that starts to like not make as much sense.
And that's something that's so hard to balance in game dev. It's like
Yeah.
you get so many ideas and you have like this perfect picture of your game,
Yeah.
and the game never ends up being like what you had in mind. Like
Yeah.
you change so much along the way and like cut out features and add new things. So it's like it's so hard to like accept that
Yeah.
and like feel fine with cutting things out.
How do you manage to feel fine with cutting stuff out? What's your process? That's
don't.
kind of the scope creep question, like, I suppose. Like, how do you do that?
Yeah, I have a really hard time with it,
Yeah.
which you can probably tell. But uh, yeah, I find it ironic that I'm on the scope creep podcast. Yeah, I found that I started using Codex this year, which is like a to-do list kind of thing, but
Okay.
it's designed for game dev. So you basically have a task, you add it as like a card, and then you have your hand, which you can only pick up a certain amount of cards
Oh,
in your hand,
perfect.
which is what you're working on.
Yeah.
And that helps a lot. And then also it has different decks for like organizing features. So I can make like my marketing deck, my bug fixes deck, stuff like that, and just really um, focus on the things that matter. So that's helped a lot, but I still have the problem with like I want to pick up every card into my hand. So
Like they're all important. You're like, yes,
yeah,
this tool is to define which ones are the actual important ones.
yeah. So I'm still working on that.
Yeah.
I really struggle with scope creep, and it's gotten better in the past couple years. But
Sure.
like even my Steam release, I was like, once I get the combat done and like make sure the UI looks fine in my game, I'm gonna just put it on Steam. And then I finish the combat, finish the UI, and I'm like, I want to add some more attacks or enemies or
Yeah.
more augments for the player to actually see like where the game is going. And it's
Yeah.
like that's what's holding me back from just getting the game out there. And yeah, I guess I struggle with that.
Can you talk more about that urge? Where do you think that's coming from, that urge to like add more to the game and do X, Y, and Z still before you give it to the public?
I think it's a lot of like I see like game development as if someone sees your game, that's probably like they're gonna make an assumption about the game in like immediately, and then kind of decide like if they want to add that to their wish list or just ignore it.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like you get that like one shot for everyone where they see your game and they either want to play it or not. And I just want to make it like as close to what I have in mind
Yeah.
for when people see it as possible.
Yeah.
Which I shouldn't have that because like I can continue to market the game and stream development and like
Mm-hmm.
advertise it, and it's going to change a lot over the
Mm-hmm.
course of however long I'm working on it. But just like having that perfectionist mindset, I guess, which really sucks in game development. And it's really hard to get over because like I think of this game as like this is my main game project. Like this is what I'm going to be proud of, and
Yeah.
like this is kind of my dream. So it's like I want it to be as close to perfect as possible, which isn't realistic.
Yeah.
And it's hard to work with that. But
What's your goal for this game, or for the project in general? Like kind of high level. What's your goal for it?
the dream is at least make some money off of it to like start the development of my next game. And then I just want to have a game that I can like it probably sounds stupid, but like just playing a like an online game with friends
Yeah.
is just like so nice. And I think that having a game that I've developed and I can play with a community or like friends would just be so cool, because then it's like you get feedback and you can just go change it.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to make a mod, you can just change your game depending on feedback and like make it better for the player base and the community. I think
Yeah.
that would be like super cool.
So you're
So,
excited
I
to
would
have
love
the
that.
game live so that you can have some of that experiences of even just like playing it with your friends.
Yeah.
And then, oh yeah, because then you're seeing a unique situation that you didn't see as a playtester of the game. Like, because
Mhm.
you're having other people put inputs into the game, you could see, okay, yeah, this is, those cards suck or those abilities suck. Let me try to buff those so they be, feel a little bit better. Or let me go rework these ones because they just don't feel as good as some of the other stuff. Like
Yeah.
that'd be really cool.
Or even just having people like exploit the game. I think that would be cool. Like find bugs or cool things to do like with the items. I think that would just be cool to see.
Yeah,
I'd really enjoy that. But
Yeah, it's absolutely terrifying to see people play your game, but then it's also
Mhm.
like really fun to watch people play the game at the same
Yeah.
time. Like you learn so much about it, like stuff you would have never even imagined. People like come up with ideas and things, and like even just like UI stuff. You're like, it's clear to me, and it's just brutally not clear to other people. It's so cool to see happen.
yeah. I found your black hole game was like super easy to understand.
It was actually one of the goals, is to like
Okay.
not have a tutorial and like just to have it be so simple that someone in 5 seconds of going to the Steam page, seeing the title. It's why the title is literally explaining what the game is.
Yeah.
And then the trailer in the first 5 seconds, you should know what the game's about. Like that is the core concept of why the game is the way it is. Is like I wanted to make it really simple, because I hate making tutorials.
Yeah,
I hate
because that's
teaching
something I
players
was
how to
going to
play a
ask
game.
you is like in your past games, have you had problems with like players not knowing what to do or having a hard time reading it?
Hexagod, even though it's a fairly simple like kind of strategy roguelike, did have some challenges of trying to explain some things. And there's mechanics that I was like trying to teach for a while. I don't know if you're familiar with the Civilization series at all, but like for a while there was like this concept of work, and so you had to have like your units did work on the buildings, and I was trying to use that to balance how how long it would take to do stuff in the game, and work was confusing for people. At the end of the day, you used to have to feed villagers, and that was confusing for people. And like I kept trying to like make these things less confusing, and eventually I was just like, what if I just remove those systems from the game? Like if they're really confusing to the players, maybe they don't fit with the game anymore. And then I kind of just I removed them all out, and it made the game better in my opinion, and simpler and more streamlined.
Okay.
Chess Survivors is a little bit simpler because it is just a simpler game. The actual like play space of what you do on a given turn is really low. So I think like a game where you have, especially turn-based stuff, it's hard because oftentimes there's lots of choices, and players need to understand the choices and consequences of those choices, both positives and negatives. But when there's like less to do, um, it seems a little bit easier because there's less to do, and that's like Chess Survivors is technically turn-based, but like you see these little squares that get green, and you can click on one of them to move to, and that's like really all you do in the actual gameplay of the game. It's a very tight space where like a game about feeding a black hole, you literally just move your mouse around the screen, and that's all. Like the rest of it, the tree actually teaches you the rest of it. So it's been pretty nice.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I imagine you'll probably have some difficulty teaching people, but since it's an action-based game, it sounds like a lot of that is also them just like playing the game to figure it out. So they might see an ability, shoot fireball. What does this do? Oh, cool! I go and do it, and you can see it. Okay, it only goes so far, and then it blows up. Okay, that means I need to be closer, and like you have this ability for players to like kind of test out how the game works.
Yeah. And I think I think it should be pretty readable because it's like, it's literally just moving and attacking.
Yeah.
And like, I've built some systems with like for my weapon system, for example, I made basically animations that I can attach to a weapon.
Yeah.
And then it interpolates them like procedurally. So I can add like 3 animations to a weapon in any order, and it will like generate a combo system that like looks good visually.
Oh, nice.
And I was originally designing that so that I could have like more customizable weapons and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I've kind of like drawn that back a lot because the point of the game isn't going to be really how the weapons function. And I find that like as you progress, you're probably going to want weapons that have like really straightforward attacks anyways. So I'm kind of gearing it, like I'm thinking of maybe just having the weapons as like a single ability or like a single function that they do.
Yeah.
And then putting more of like the augment system, like the items you pick up and stuff, that would be like more of the core like game that you actually have to learn. And that way it keeps it a lot more simple. Like you just pick up a weapon, it does something like, I don't know, burns enemies when you hit them.
Yeah.
And then it's like super simple. You just click the attack button and it swings the sword. And then I can keep my like animation system in for like more visually like different weapons, but it's not as like complex, and it's still just like a hack and slash game where you just click the attack button and you hit enemies. So hopefully it's readable, but we'll see.
What do you think the big challenge, either so far or is going to be in the future of working on this game? Like, what's been the really hard part for you?
Hardest thing has been the art style. I really want the game to look good, and I know that's not something you should be working at like initially. But I like started with an isometric game, and it just didn't like I was having a hard time with the art style, and then I wanted to hand draw the animations, then I want to do like a skeleton animation system, and it's just like a bunch of back and forth with that. So I've finally landed on doing like the 3D model to rendering pixel art kind of workflow.
Okay.
And that's working super good. Like
Yeah.
it's so much more efficient than hand drawing everything.
That's cool.
But with that, I think the main challenge is going to be like just making the 3D models and animations.
Yeah.
Like it's a lot easier than doing hand drawn sprite sheets.
Sure.
But I'm still not super great at 3D modeling, so it's like I guess trying to build that skill at the same time will probably be difficult, and I'm hoping I can make it work. But
Yeah. That makes sense, though. That, I mean, in a game like you're making, that art is going to be probably the biggest, even like budget of time. But if you can find little tricks like that to, instead of making it be a day to create a monster's animations, if you can make that an hour, to do, that is where you start. Say you have 100 monsters or 100 things that need to be animated. All of a sudden, instead of 100 days of work, it turns into 100 hours of work.
Yeah, and it's like so much more. Like I don't know how much sprite sheet work you've done with like just drawing pixel art, but typically for like a 4-directional walk cycle, it takes me like a couple days to make that like how I want.
Yeah.
So it's like just doing a 3D model, texturing, rigging, animation takes me like probably 3-4 days. And then that's just all my sprite sheet directions.
Yeah.
From that, like I can do 8 directional sprite sheets, which is what I'm doing. And then just, it's so much easier to just animate and render it out quickly.
Yeah.
It's just so nice. But
art's so crazy how quickly the numbers can explode to unreasonable.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Yeah. Well, this is cool. I've never experimented with that, like a 3D pipeline into pixel art. It seems kind of cool.
It's cool. I really like it. Yeah, it's just super nice because I can do like the quality of animations that I'd want that I'm not capable of doing those with like hand drawn.
Yeah.
So it's been really nice.
That's how Dead Cells was made, right?
Dead Cells. I haven't played it.
I mean, I own it and I haven't played it either, but I think that's they did some stuff with their I think their character modeling was
oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's actually a lot of games that do that, and then also even just using 3D models as a reference. I found a lot of games do that.
Oh sure.
So they'll render it out, but they're not actually going to use those assets. So then they
can just like put the sword in the position they want to see what's the silhouette look like, and how do I kind of then hand draw that actual pixel art maybe over top of it. Interesting.
Which I still need to try that out because I haven't tried that workflow, but maybe for like a game jam or something that would be fun.
Yeah. Do you think you'll make another game after this one?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have
Probably
ideas for it?
Quite a few more. I really want to make a 3D game next, and then I was thinking of maybe just like a really basic like outer space kind of survival game.
Okay.
I did a game jam last December where I made like a super basic like 2D or little astronaut guy, and you go out and mine some asteroids, and kind of like a super linear story.
Yeah.
But I think reimagining that in 3D and then having like a multiplayer survival game would be super cool, and I could keep the scope down like quite a bit because like survival games, you literally just add like items and some basic systems, and then it kind of just works.
Yeah.
So
it's a bit more of a progression curve than like a difficulty curve.
Yeah, I feel like it would be pretty easy to do.
Yeah.
But that would be ideally my next like big project.
Nice. Are there any game jam projects you've done over the years where you're like, ooh, that one could become a full project?
Yes, probably I have like a puzzle game, but it's like super basic. It was actually hosted by another YouTuber, the Game Jam, but he was like, only use this one icon pack.
Ooh.
And I literally just made a game with like only icons, and it worked super well, and I'm like super proud of it.
Cool.
And the puzzles in it like are actually super hard to do.
Yeah.
And they might be a bit too difficult, but I think I could make that like just give it like 100 levels and then make it like $2 on itch or something.
Yeah.
But I probably never am going to actually do that.
But you could. That's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you? Game jam projects that you would want to make into full games?
I, f- I mean, there's a couple of them. Like I think Hexagod came out of one of them that was like inspired by Stacklands if you had dice in it, and then very quickly I realized dice would be kind of unmanageable for a game like that, and then Hexagod kind of exploded into a completely different type of game throughout just kind of scope creep and exploration of the space. But that one definitely came from I think it was like GMTK 2022.
Okay.
Um, Otherwise, I've done a couple like incremental games for game jams. I think I did like two of them, so that at least gave me a taste of making incremental games and being like, oh, these are kind of fun to develop and make, and like you're kind of just like in an incremental game, you're like distilling down like what makes a player feel good when they play, and like trying to like use that, I suppose. So a couple games, yeah, here and there that I've like been interested in, but I think a lot of the times I'm having a harder time like finishing game jams these days, where I'm like the GMTK game jam this summer I like started and I'm like, okay, I'm kind of burnt out. Like it was like a little too long for me in a way. So
Hmm.
interesting doing full time game dev. It's much harder for me to like commit to like doing something where I'm like doing 10 12 hour days, where like when it was a hobby I could easily just be like, oh, let me take the day off on Monday, and now let me like burn really hard on game dev since I can't do it all the time. Where like
Yeah.
I think now that I'm doing it full time for the last year and a half, I'm like, oh, God, this is a lot of work. I'm kind of want to not do this.
Interesting. Yeah. I guess I've kind of been doing game dev full time. I just do it like every day for a few hours.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
um, would you say it's doing game dev full time is better than like a normal job, or like would you ever want to go back?
Uh, it's. I think it's just different than a normal job. Like, I made quite a bit of money doing my full time jobs as a Salesforce developer. Um, if you're looking for a lot of money out there, Salesforce could be the way to do it. It's not fun to work on, but you do get pretty good job security because once people implement Salesforce, you can't really get off of it. It's kind of a
Okay.
cancer that way. So that's some good job security. But yeah, money's different now. Like I view money very differently now that I'm not a sustainably profitable solo developer. But that's also fun, and I enjoy being able to like run my life and work when I want to work, and kind of like just treat myself as an employee the way I've always wanted to be treated. You know, like an emotional being who does have ups and downs, and some days I do need to just take a break and walk away, or I do need to go for like a 2 hour walk right now, and like just to like get away from sitting at this desk. So I don't right now have any desire to like get a full time job again. One of the bigger things I've learned this year is I really do miss the socialization you get from a full time job, which is partly why I'm doing this podcast weekly. Is like, yeah, I want to share cool conversations with cool devs, but like, I also just want to meet people, and like,
Yeah.
it's why I went to the indie game meetup that you and I went to. Is like, it's nice to go and socialize with people that are kind of could be like peers or coworkers in a weird way. It's why I do my game dev coaching is like, yeah, that's a little bit of money on the side as well to help, but like it's also nice to meet other developers and kind of like try to mentor some people along their own journeys. So that's been a surprisingly kind of challenging thing. Is just like, oh, I feel a little lonely on a day to day basis. How can I like add more socialization back into my job? And this has been a
Okay.
successful vehicle to do that.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's
Would
cool.
Would you ever consider doing full time game development?
That's the goal, yeah. I really want to get into it, but it's difficult.
Yeah.
I find it's just a lot of like doing things yourself.
Yeah.
Because obviously like I was homeschooled, so I already have a don't have the upper hand there.
Sure.
So it's just like I started my own company technically, and I'm doing like the whole like tutoring thing on the side,
Yeah.
but like I still have a um, regular job, and I want to eventually convert to doing game dev full time because like even like mixing that with content creation, I think would be sick. Just like being able to like exactly that, just be your own boss and kind of do your own thing. Like that's the dream. So
Yeah. It's certainly interesting. Can you, I guess, where did YouTube come along, and like how long have you been doing YouTube?
YouTube has been actually 3 years this October,
Awesome.
but I've only been doing it consistently for like, because I started in October 2022 and then started consistently in like 2023 January.
Yeah.
Um,
What was your
but
first
that was
video?
actually, oh, it was a an audio stream player manager, like an audio system sound effect whatever for Godot, and it was horrible because I didn't know that you could do a you can use polyphonic audio,
Hmm.
polyphony, whatever, to play like the same sound effect over itself. And then I also didn't know that Godot has like a polyphonic audio stream player resource.
Oh, cool.
So you can do multiple different sound effects on the same audio stream player and
Oh.
overlap them, which is
I'm
kind of interesting.
learning that right now.
Yeah. But like nowadays, I just do a sound effect singleton and then have it just manage a bunch of different audio stream player children,
Yeah.
which I
Yep.
find is a lot easier to work with. But anyways, it was horrible. I don't like that tutorial, so it's now unlisted. Um, but yeah, what about you? What was your first video?
It was a Tuesday where I was working at a shitty job, and I had made a YouTube channel and had it for a while, but never made a video. And I was like, I was dreading going to work, so I took a mental health day. And I was like, I'm gonna make a video, and it was about hexagons and how to make hexagons using kind of I don't know if you ever read the Red Blobs blog about hexagon grids. It's kind of the gold standard for how to like deal with them and like manage hexagon grids because it's slightly
Okay.
different than using a square, right? A square
Yeah.
grid. So I just made a video about how to like implement it really quick and dirty. Like, is actually was a 3D hexagon space, and I still have the video up. It's a fine video, but it's just so funny to hear my voice and hear my presence on camera, and like I like leaving it there because I like to see how far I've come as a creator since then, and like how much more comfortable I am on camera because sitting here looking at a camera, even now, like if I press record, it changes, something changes in my brain
Yeah.
when I do that. Do you feel that way at all when you're
Yeah, definitely.
like you
You
like
get
maybe practice the script, but when you actually press go, it like it changes something.
it's just like I don't know, it's weird, but yeah, you get used to just like being in camera mode, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
But that's also something like I'll look back on old videos and like I don't like doing it, but I'll look back on them and they're sure different.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see like where you've come even over the past like couple months.
Yeah. Why did you start making YouTube videos to begin with?
It was actually my cousin. So she is like a content creator
Okay.
and just like wants other people to do it as well. So
Cool.
kind of inspired me
Yeah.
and like said that I could do it, which gave me the motivation. So
Cool.
yeah, I guess I just started from inspiration. What about you?
It was the original purpose of it was to give myself a positive feedback loop because I was kind of stuck in prototyping hell, where I'd have a project, I'd get it going, and then I'd like run into that brick wall of like, oh, this is getting hard and slow, and then do a different one. So the original idea was going to be to try to like get people to know my projects existed. And now it's morphed into like just sharing my journey because I enjoy that part of it and
Yeah.
the journaling of the experience.
That's cool.
Yeah. And I feel like in the long run, it's created opportunities, like get to meet cool people like yourself, and like working with Thornity is probably only something that came about from doing YouTube, and like various just kind of opportunities are arising, especially now. I feel like this last year, it's starting to like more stuff starting to pop up. So it really feels like a long tail investment in my game development journey. Do you feel that way
Yeah,
at
it's
all
cool.
about kind of YouTube
I definitely
and
feel that,
stuff?
yeah. Like I feel like you can just make games and like I feel like having a YouTube channel with making games helps a lot with
Yeah.
like visibility and marketing.
Yeah.
Um and I found, yeah, getting a lot more like connections actually like in the industry just because I have a channel, which kind of seems like I know it kind of seems weird because it's like it probably shouldn't be that way,
Yeah.
but it's kind of nice, I guess, just to like be able to meet people and
Yeah. Having a channel
get
with
some of those
viewers is a
opportunities.
resource.
Mhm.
Like most things in this world want audiences, and having an audience, even, you know,
at our size is still a valuable resource to some people, which is cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty neat.
Yeah. We'll switch into the fast round. Last couple of questions.
Okay.
What is the first game you made, or like you remember making? What was kind of the pitch that idea?
Oh, it was very first game, like first project was you would click a button and it would move the little scratch cat forward 10 steps, 10 pixels, and you'd click it until he reached the finish line, and then he would say like, "Hey, he won" or whatever. Second game was like my actual project that I was gonna finish this one, but I never did, and that was like a top-down, kind of tile-based movement action game.
Mm-hmm.
So you were like this little character, and you had like a big axe or whatever, and you would just move between tiles, and you could like chop down trees, and then you could attack enemies.
Cool.
And it was made in Scratch, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Actually, kind of impressive for like a 10-year-old, but I also duplicated like for every tree it was a separate object, not just like an instance of the object. So
Sure.
it was like super inefficient, but
Sure.
kinda
And then like
funny.
if you had to change anything, it took forever probably to
Oh,
change
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, it was not great.
That's cool.
Anyways,
That's
yeah.
really fun. I
What
like
about you?
that. A very first game I made, I don't know. I think in this like actual what I would call my game dev career, I know is it was for Ludum Dare 46, and I had watched a few C# tutorials, nothing to do with an engine, and I made a text-based game called Doctor Take Your Pills, where you're basically like trying to keep a patient alive for 24 hours by like giving them different medicine to change their vitals. And so it's kind of just a whole text-based thing. Like I got to Sunday of the game jam and I woke up because I like spent like 14 hours on Saturday building this game. Got to Sunday and I woke up and I was like, how do I get someone else to play the game? I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know how do I package this up so I can run it on my computer, but I like, and I was like, okay, never mind. And I literally just stopped there because I was like, I don't know how to like distribute this. But then I
Dang.
started learning game engines and I learned about itch and stuff like that afterwards. But like, it was a unfun game that, you know, it took probably a really long time to make the text-based version, where if it was just like in Godot or Unity, it would have been a way easier game to make and build. So that was
Okay.
the first actual kind of quote unquote game that I think I remember making.
Nice.
Yeah.
How many, including like every game you've made and every prototype, how many projects do you think you've made?
Probably like 20 to 30, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit less than that.
Okay.
Yeah. How about you?
Probably a
Ballpark.
couple hundred.
Yeah.
Like,
Jeez.
yeah, because it's across a lot of game engines.
In a lot of years,
And that,
yeah.
and then if we want to include like tutorial projects, like just a prototype I make for a tutorial, then it's obviously way higher. But
That's awesome.
yeah.
That's a good
That's
one. That's a good question. I want to add that as a follow-up question.
Okay.
How
I feel like
many-
I've made way too many prototypes,
yeah, how
but
many
it's just
games?
because I've used way too many game engines.
Very cool. What is the best piece of advice that you've gotten that you've actually used? Doesn't have to be game dev, can just be in general if you want, but yeah, the best piece of advice that you've gotten that you've actually used.
I don't have anything off the top of my head.
Hmm.
I'll say for game dev, well, I'm gonna sound like a hypocrite, but I have actually used it, and that's just the like make things before you like perfect them. Obviously, just
yeah.
implement them before you like polish them, and I've used it a lot more this year than I have in the past, but it definitely does help, and it's definitely a really important part of game development.
Sure.
I think it's probably the most valuable advice for like anyone getting into game dev.
Just to make
So-
it work first and make
Yep.
it fast and pretty
Like,
later.
you can make it look better and
Yeah.
be more balanced later. But
Yeah. Very cool.
What about you?
Best piece of advice I've gotten that I've actually used? I should probably have an answer for this question since I've asked it a few times now. Probably something along the lines of like the creative process and how sometimes you just need to move in a direction. I think it's probably from Adam Savage on his channel Tested, but he's like talking about like sometimes you're stuck. And if you're stuck, you can sit there thinking about you being stuck, but like sometimes you just need to move in a direction. And then when you start moving and move in just any direction, good, bad, otherwise, you'll start to understand the shape of the problem more and if that direction is good or bad. And you can always like change a different direction. So kind of that when you're stuck in analysis paralysis, like just move in a direction and that'll help understand more of the problem that you feel stuck in.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
actually really good.
Yeah.
I haven't thought about it that way.
Yeah.
That's, yeah.
Kind of goes hand in hand with yours as well of like just put something in, and by putting something in you'll understand if it's good or bad. It's kind of the same, I guess it's the same side of the coin of like, yeah, build it now, build it quick, because you don't know if it's going to stay there. And like that's that analysis paralysis of like, okay, just let me put something in and see how that feels, and then that'll give me more data points to understand the problem.
Yeah. Like, yeah, I think that's really good, because then you don't have to like plan out your, like it's not good to plan out your entire course of action without like at least taking the first step, because yeah, things change so much, especially in programming and game dev.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that's really good.
Another question is who is one of your role models that you've never met? Could be someone on the internet, could be a movie star, I guess, I don't know what. An author. Could be me. Just kidding.
No, it's
You've met me now.
you. Yeah. No, that's a good one. I actually don't know. I mean, like in game dev, if we're kind of keeping it to that,
Sure.
it would probably be, I've always like been inspired by Danny, the guy that made, all those crab game and muck and stuff. So I feel like from a game dev point of view, it would probably be him.
Why Danny?
I feel like he just has a really good understanding of like what makes a game fun. Yeah. And he has a really good like attitude about game development, and I find his humor with it like really, really fun. I don't know, I like his videos, respect like the games he makes, and I think it's really cool.
I feel like his stuff doesn't take him. He like knows he's making a game, and he has that like he hits that like that scuffed nature in a perfect way. Like it's rough, and it's fun, and it's silly, and it's goof, and like it
but
plays
somehow
really
it's still
well.
like polished.
Yeah,
like it's polished, but like
polished. Yeah,
not. Yeah, it's I don't know. He does a really good job with it.
Yeah.
But and he makes them so quick. I don't know how he like got them out so quick, but yeah, I don't know. For outside of game dev, I don't know if I have an answer to that. I'd have to think about it. What about you?
My big inspiration is Adam Savage he's an old Mythbuster, but his channel is called Tested. He has just such a wealth of wisdom from a long career of being a creative person that I feel like I've just seeped up so much like understanding of stuff, and like it's truly kind of an older type of person I want to become, where he's it just seems like he's gone through a lot of struggles in life, but also has like learned from those struggles and continually like processed them and like adjusted who he is. And he's still very much, even though he's in his like 50s or 60s, he's still growing as a person. And like it's very it's somebody I look up to that I've never met, and still feel like I gain valuable wisdom from the videos he creates. And
that's cool.
Have modeled some of my YouTube stuff about kind of a lot of his YouTube is just like him in his cave building stuff and talking about it. And that's kind of what I've tried to do. Just like, it's just me in my office talking about stuff, and like having that loose, authentic format has been something that I've tried to adopt from him. So it's probably one of my big inspirations.
I've seen a lot of his stuff on like Corridor. If you ever watch them, they do like CG stuff.
Yeah.
But I think he appears on as like a guest there. A lot,
I think I saw him do something with probably some space stuff, maybe, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, he seems really cool.
Yeah, he's a cool dude. Final question to circle back to is scope creep. you said you've been struggling with it. What do you want to focus on in the coming months or month or next feature to manage scope creep better?
I want to focus on. I have like 2 main tasks that I want to do for my game.
Yeah.
And hopefully I can get them done this week. And then I want to focus on getting my game out there, putting more into marketing because I feel like I just kind of hide my game.
Yeah.
Kind of circling back to what I talked about earlier, but with marketing, also just streaming it more and like showing people what I'm working on. And I think that'll help me a lot with, rather than like planning out all these features, just getting like immediate feedback and seeing what people think and being able to kind of adjust like where I'm investing my time. I think that'll help a lot.
Yeah. That's awesome. I hope that'll help, and I wanna see your game get out the door and check it out and play test it and give you feedback and stuff like that too. So, best of luck on that, and thanks for coming on the podcast. This was awesome. It was
thanks
both great to meet you in person when we went to the game developer meetup, and hope to see you at some of those more in the future, and then also to be able to chat here and get to know you a little bit better. I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. And thanks for having me on the podcast. It was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. I need to get a sign off. Do you have a sign off? Some people like have their guests say something when they're at the end. So say something at the end.
Something at the end. No.
Perfect. Here we go. Fade to black.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Cool.
Sweet. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Again, what a fabulous conversation, and I couldn't thank him more for both encouraging me to go to the the IGDA, International Game Developer Association chapter here in the Twin Cities. I think it's going to be something that's helpful in the long run for my sanity, and even just getting to meet other developers who are doing some cool stuff. And this was a great conversation. I'm a huge fan of his YouTube channel. Make sure you go and check it out, watch some of his tutorials, learn something new, and be inspired by following along as he's working on his game. I've been Aramis. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.